Welcome, everybody. This is 100 Talk. And it's a pretty special one, if I do say so myself.
The first episode where it's not just you and me talking.
Yes. Ironically, we're starting out with just you and me talking. This is exactly how we planned it.
Yeah. Well, and there's a script. Let's be honest. We script every episode.
Word for word.
Yeah.
It's really hard. We practice a lot, guys.
A week of rehearsals, a lot of blocking. Yeah, run-throughs. We do run-throughs from Tuesday on. Yeah.
Well,
it shows.
Like I said, this is a very special episode because we have the famous, the notorious Gabe Ruiz from 100 Thieves, the director of production, as our first ever guest to the pod. So this is some sort of crazy milestone that we should probably do something wild to celebrate with, but I haven't really thought that far in advance.
I'll have a drink of my tea. We had the same celebration idea.
Yeah, right. Actually, we could say we're celebrating by this week we became Twitch affiliates. So we are semi-legit. We're many steps away from fully legit, but we've at least become partially legit.
I mean, I don't know what your legit scale is, but I'm feeling pretty legit at this point.
Well, I felt more legitimate when we got our first couple of subscribers this week. So shout outs to them because that is super cool. Yeah. Let's go ahead and just transition and bring this dude on because I am so excited. I cannot wait another minute. All right, let's bring in Gabe here.
That's the cue.
Yeah. Gabe,
that sounded like the key. That absolutely sounded like the key.
Gabe, you may unmute. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. It's interesting. Not a big personality who normally in front of the camera. It's a bit different than normal.
He is on the other side of the camera this time. Look what we've done to this man. Isn't it wild?
No, it's nice. It's nice. We're gonna have like a really intimate following of people who are gonna be talking, and I can't wait to answer questions, guys.
Yeah,
we've got a super high quality chat, no matter what the platform is. Somehow we've attracted people who are higher quality even than us.
That's saying something. And finding higher quality people online is the real key. We've got some good fans. Honestly, 100 Thieves has some really good core fans that watch our videos, so we get a good bar. But
I guess you're seeing a lot of comments and things coming through, right?
So. Oh man, I would have to say that I close to read all of them. Maybe not so much on YouTube, that gets away from me, but like Reddit. I mean, it just kind of goes with being in touch with like the community and what they want to see. But sometimes.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. And it probably changes kind of weekly at this point, right?
I wouldn't say. I mean, weekly is pretty fast, but for the majority of I would say the past year, we've had actually really good reception. But it just goes along with like how much care we put into everything and how much we're trying to do things like correctly. We get a really good reception from everybody.
Yeah.
So it's nice. Like a Red Bull recently, amazing.
Oh, dude, that is insane. I want to like bookmark that.
Sure, we can get back to
that. We're gonna come back to the Red Bull thing because, dude, man, that was a crazy video.
Thank you.
But yeah, let's rewind. So one of the things is you are wearing the shirt.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, how can you not, right?
You are wearing the shirt.
I mean, at least for the next couple of weeks, the employees here get to be like, flex a little, because it's like one of the perks, one of the many perks of work. Just getting it early, and it feels great.
Is the logo embroidered or is that screen printed? I can't tell.
It's embroidered. Yeah.
Oh man, sparing no expense.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, quality is where that. I can't speak of like specific details because that's that's Matt's wheelhouse and whatnot. But yeah, it's embroidered. It's not screen printed.
Man,
like. This is the best part. I'm gonna have to oh wait, no, I can't even see it. It was like a little tack. It's just like the
the honor among thieves thing on the bottom.
Yeah, absolutely.
That which you'll remember from the geography hoodie and the cream hoodie. Actually, the cream hoodie I think just said 100 Thieves on it. If I actually have
I don't think it said honor among thieves.
It does on the underside. Underside honor among thieves.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah. See, that's the convenience of having the backdrop.
Crushing it.
So.
It's a nice backdrop.
Thank you. Yeah, display some of the collection. It's all. I wear it too. This is not just hanging up. I wear it. So.
Wow, we have some good apparel. Look at that.
Yeah. Feast your eyes upon the works of your hands.
Oh man, like even just seeing the red camo one or the red geography print one.
Yeah.
Just like, that is the mean, we can go on and on about this. But.
Yes, I would especially. So let's take it back to the very beginning, when
Sure thing.
baby Gabe was born on a rainy night, and his mother said, "I know he will one day become a very important digital video producer." No, let's for real quickly tell the story about how you got not only to 100 Thieves, but how you got into video production in general in the esports realm.
Damn, it's not a fun story. Like, unfortunately, it's not like, I was, just going 9 to 5 and then I saw something at the corner of my eye. No, it was, I was going to school. My stepmom's sister had like a production studio, and I thought it was always cool, and I would just hold like reflectors and whatnot. Like, that's literally all I would do. Because if I did that long enough, like, we could play video games more. Like, the sooner we were done with the production, the sooner we could take our husband away to play video games.
Nice. You're motivated.
So, I'm motivated, exactly. I had a clear-cut conscious of what I wanted. But then the more it went on, high school started, I did advanced video production, and it kind of subsided for a little bit because that's when I started wanting to do esports stuff, but I didn't think video and esports were a thing. Like, it wasn't until like, Damien and Max came in with their shows that like it started developing content wise. But so I didn't think it was a thing, but I wanted to do esports. So I threw tournaments at a cyber lounge in Chino Hills, California.
Wait, so as in you hosted, like you organized and hosted them?
Yeah. So I was an event coordinator for the Grid Cyber Lounge. And so we would throw tournaments. So we had like, Dyrus there back at OG League of Legends. We the CLG Camp tournament, I threw that. Like LMQ used to be a Chinese or Korean team that played here. Their first tournament was at the Grid. Like, we were doing some good things, but it was never like enough. And so then I went to MLG, I want to say Anaheim, and met with someone from, I think it was Velocity at the time, but then I joined Winter Fox, and then they weren't doing media content, and then kind of just snowballed all the way to where I'm at now. So yeah, I went through Winter Fox to Luminosity, and the work I did at Luminosity, Damien, luckily enough, reached out, and I joined One Up Studios, spent a good year and a half plus with them. But towards the end, I knew I wanted to do, like, Liquid and One. I know I'm like breezing through this.
No, that's good. I was gonna say it seemed like you mentioned One Up without saying the words Team Liquid.
Yeah. So I mean, because that's a whole era by itself. But I'm just gonna say, like, Liquid and One Up, like, they have such already a good conscious of what they want to be as a, not just a media company, but as like an esports team. And they're like such a respected org. So I'm nothing bad about them at all, but it was just knew I wanted to do things like kind of differently, and I kind of want to do my own thing, add my own style. And it's kind of hard to do with a team that's been a team for about close to 10 years. So when 100 Thieves was announced, it just kind of seemed like the right fit. And then, early talks with Nadeshot like solidified it. And so, yeah, so I joined.
Did you like apply like a normal person, or you said early talks with Nadeshot? Like, how did that happen?
No, honestly, so you'll get here tossed around a lot in like all these conversations, like how 100 Thieves came together. You always hear this name like Blake, right? And everyone's like, "Oh, what did Blake do?" It's just like, what did he do? But Blake is just like, I don't know how he masterminded all of this, but he just like. He just did. And so what Blake did was he had showed Nadeshot Breaking Point, which was one of the first pieces I did with One Up. And so I had heard Nadeshot saw that, and I had interest in what Nadeshot was doing. And so, I did the subtle reach out, because, his DMs weren't open. And so I was like, oh, thanks, Nadeshot, for watching Breaking Point and saying such nice things in your blog. Like, it meant a lot to me. And then I got that follow back, and then I was just like, whoo, what are your content plans? And then it kind of just evolved from there.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
There's like a semi-apocryphal story, right? About like, I can't remember who it was that was with Nadeshot that was like watching Breaking Point was like.
I think
it was
Probably. Yeah, I think it was
was it probably? Yeah. So you even influenced everything on the team side, man. Look at that.
I mean, I'm glad that piece has stood time for what it is. I mean, I know it has some controversy behind it, but I think it was a good piece. I'm glad Neil showed it to him. I'm glad that's not the route we wanted to go with anything we did. Like it has a point and a place, but it secured me the job, so I gotta love it.
Yeah. Well, so I'm sure then that in your early discussions with Nadeshot, it was, there's probably a lot of discussion about your work in that. So when you work together to create the heist and the idea for the heist, what were the points of differentiation that you wanted to hit? What was the whole concept behind it? What were the goals?
Well, before I was hired, and then like day one, it was like really solidified. It was like Matt wanted a documentary series. He just wanted one. He wanted it. He was so passionate about it because he knew he wanted to tell these players' stories. Like we had going into it, we had Someday, we had the Levi. We just had so many people coming into the 100 Thieves in general. Like we wanted to document what we were doing, not just from the team sides, but our business side, because we had like huge aspirations. In the beginning, we were just sitting in the Rocket Mortgage team house before any of the branding was up, sitting on a table in the corner, just talking about all of this and like what we wanted to accomplish here. So he instantly was like, we need to come up with a doc series. It needs to come out soon. Because they signed on to they got accepted into franchising, and they needed to build a whole team and like its infrastructure in like a couple months. So I couldn't even imagine that, along with the media team and it's just, so he was like, all right, you'd focus on the media, you'd make this doc series, and like, but first let's come up with a name. And we had like a bunch of names, but the second, I don't even know how like the heist came up. It did. And then it was like, it's perfect. Like there's no other thing you could name this doc series. And so this is how perfect it was. It was so perfect that I needed to come up with ideas to show how bad ideas can be, just so I could pitch the heist. And so I was so excited. I remember I was going to Matt's house for the first interview. I was just going to Matt's house to film his Tesla video. This is way back.
Way back. Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, the chat is mentioning something.
They're looking at your shoe rack, I think.
Yeah, they are. They're just talking about the Yeezys. That's all they're talking about.
Flexing, man. Flexing hard.
Yeah, exactly. So then we're at the Matt's house doing the Tesla video, and I couldn't come up with bad ideas. And I was like, Matt, I think we have it, but I don't want to tell you. Like, I don't want to tell you it because if you say no, I don't know where else to go from here. Like, I don't know what else it could possibly be. And so I told him, and he really loved it.
Do you have a bad idea?
For the yeah. Oh, could you? Well, I can't think of, like, I don't have any written down. Can I think of a bad idea for the league team?
The robbery.
Sure.
The robbery.
Like, I don't know. What's a good one? What's a good one? It's got to be something like
Den of Thieves.
Has somewhat of a place, but it's like, like the long con. You're like, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. The long con.
Or we're actually shopping names right now, and like a lot of names for like that are related to Thieves just aren't like Con Job. You're like, well, this got great. And so we have actually a lot, because we like look at terminology, like there's stakes, or there's like, but like they're always something job. Like, and it's just like, it doesn't sound like the Italian Job sounds cool because now it's a thing.
Yeah.
But like, you think like, the Call of Duty job. You're like, oh, that's awful. And so, we're still shopping some ideas because we have other, shows coming, but there's some bad names out there.
Other shows.
And I didn't.
All right. You heard it here first, everyone.
That's you got to imagine. We're not.
Yeah, sure.
We're not gonna.
One show. Keep it.
Yeah, one show. That's it. Right. Yeah.
Kind of phone it in for the rest of the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, we know that Nate's talked about a podcast, so at least we know there's that.
That's always been a goal. It's always been a dream of Nate's, because he loves talking, and he loves talking to people and talking with people. So that has to happen. Yeah. Like, whenever that does happen, like, you've seen him talk to Hex, you've seen him just interact with everybody. He's so good. So we just need to get him on a mic.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually one of the things that I really was interested in by step one of the heist was I was actually pretty unfamiliar with him because I was so far outside of esports when this all began, and instantly he was like a good storyteller. Like I loved watching him talk about everything that happened.
Absolutely.
And so that was a lot of the draw for me. So actually, speaking of that, let's back up again for a second. What was it like for you to prep the first episode and like press publish?
Oh man, that was that's funny. That's interesting because that's the only story where like we had a published story. Okay, well, I mean, there's some sad parts of the story, so we'll skip over those. We'll skip over.
It's gonna be a tearjerker.
I mean, step one, like how it like came to be, was crazy. Just that whole culmination of time, like leaving Liquid, joining. Like I want to say it because it like adds to it, but I'm not trying to like.
No,
because it's a team success,
Yeah.
Step one was crazy because of how fast we had to do it. So we hadn't announced Rocket Mortgage yet, and so we had to like edit around the house too. We couldn't exactly show the house yet, and then with the timing of when step 2 was going to come out, like it was just everything was nuts. And then I remember we were shooting. We needed to shoot super fast. Like I joined on like December 29th or something, like right before, like, so this is the holiday. This is holidays too, right? Like this is like Christmas. I remember waiting for, like, Matt and I like said Merry Christmas to each other and like talking about like joining, like, so there was like so many, and then he had bought 2 cars for his I think his brother and sister.
I remember that one.
And so like everyone was just doing some like crazy things, and then like New Year coming up, but I had to like start before New Year. No, I had to start on New Year's Day. So things were already just crazy because the players were going to move in. We needed their reactions to seeing the house, and we needed to craft this story. So what we knew we wanted to do was we had a task of introducing our whole first, I would say, split, the spring split. We had a goal of being accepted by the league community. During relegations and whatnot, there are teams that like haven't been so accepted by the community. You had like TDK or Enemy who never really stuck. And going in, the last thing we wanted to be was just a name in the crowd. Like we didn't want to we wanted to come in, and we knew that we could do things differently and we can do things better than teams have been doing. And we need to make sure that happened. Oh, sorry. So what we started with was we needed to show people who Nade was and why he cared so much, and what 100 Thieves stood for, because originally we got actually a lot of backlash about the name. Like people were thinking like 100 Thieves sounds kind of dumb in a world of like Team Liquids and things that you're just used to hearing, and like Team Solo Mid, like out of context and out of sports context, Team Solo Mid doesn't make much sense, but you're just so conditioned to hearing it. If you weren't to 100 Thieves, and so we had to like explain what it meant, and we just had to show why Nadeshot won't let this fail. And I think that's what we really wanted to hit on the first episode. But again, it's like crazy nights of editing, crazy trying to tie the story together, cutting around the house to show Rocket Mortgage, but also tell the story, and like just set up this whole the first big piece of 100 Thieves to show people that we're ready to do this. And so the crazy, like the really sad part was I color corrected it and it was ready to go, but we had to make a change, right? And it was coming out that day or the next day. I don't remember what it was, but I think it was coming out. Yeah, it was the next day. Actually, we might have pushed it a day because I was at the funeral for my grandma.
Oh no.
So it was just a crazy like ending of a period. But I remember like just wanting more than anything, because like she was always very supportive, to just like, let's get this, we want this to be ready. And so I came home and I did like the change that was needed, and I felt like super good about it. We came back the next day, we pushed it because it was already too late at that point, but it was a good push. We're glad we pushed it a day. And then we get there the final day, Matt like pulls me over, loves it. His reaction, I'll never forget his reaction to watching the first one. He like loved it. It's exactly what he wanted. And I said, okay, it's good to go. And he's like, no, like you have to come in and publish. Like this is what we did this.
Nice.
And so, walk over, push publish, and then here we are now.
Yeah, it all started from here.
And then Cole is a 100 Thieves fan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's perfect. Oh, yeah, exactly.
So I've made allusions to this on the podcast before, but the full story is that I had never even played League of Legends, and Jordan had been. So Gabe, I've known Jordan for most of my life, like since we were 6 years old, and
nice.
Jordan had been trying to get me to play League of Legends for months, And I kept like pushing it off because it didn't really seem like my thing. And then one day I was at work and it was kind of like a down day, like just didn't really have much going on. And he sent me step 1. He was like, hey, dude, you should watch this. And so I was like, okay, I've got nothing else to do. So I turned it on and I was like immediately like, okay, like I got to find out more about what's going on here. And just it had this huge impact on me. It pulled me into the brand. Like not just like, oh, that was like fun to watch. Like I wanted to know more about 100 Thieves. I wanted to know who Nadeshot was. And then I went home that night and like did the tutorial to like set up my League of Legends account and start playing with Jordan.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was like the start of everything for me with step 1 as well.
That's so amazing to hear.
Yeah. I appreciate it as well. In other words, because now I have a league buddy, another league buddy, and a co-host.
Someone to wake up at 3 a.m. and watch Worlds with.
Yeah.
You need those.
Yeah. So you've done, you've pushed out step 1. Now the ball is like rolling down the hill. What are the guiding principles you're trying to follow? I mean, you mentioned telling the stories of the players, being a big thing, but you also have to tell the story of the brand. So, when you're planning episodes of the heist, like what are you looking to do? How much of there is like, we have an agenda to deliver this message, and how much of it is simply this is what's happening right now?
That's an interesting one. We do try to shy away from the word like agenda. We're not really ever trying to. It's not propaganda. That's what I love about this. We're not propaganda. We're not really masking things. What we're really trying to show is because like with me and our team being there, we see what's happening, and I know everyone wants behind the scenes, and so we give that to them, but we can't give them 40 hours of footage and be like, all right, see how we're doing. Right. Like, go ahead, parse through it. And so we had to like cut it to 15, 20 minutes. And so I would say go into every week knowing what possibly could happen. So let's say if it's like a regular LCS week, we publish the episode. The reason why you see a lot of like the dive on there or other kind of like talk shows is because they're really good at giving the context of what the community is seeing 100 Thieves in, or what are the stakes of that week.
Yeah.
And so we'll either come in with like a theme that like we want to like hit, like sometimes there's like time, like a bunch of time lapses, and like sometimes there's a lot of video things that we want to do. Like how do we tell the story a bit differently? But we'll come in when it comes to the story itself is with a plan of what can happen this weekend. If we win, why is it that we won? And if we lose, why is it that we lost? And how do we tell that? So like, let's say we're going into a week against like FlyQuest, if we beat them, it's expected. And so we can use those expected moments to dive into like Ryu or to dive into like Someday, especially depending on their performance. But if we lose, then it's like, okay, well, let's look at it from an objective team standing. Why is it that we lost, and how can we tell that? So you kind of have to pivot as you go, and you need to see like things in a different, like you can't just watch objectively and like, okay, I need to tell that objective story. You're like, okay, because personally like what players are going through. Not everything, of course, but at least something more than community does.
Yeah.
And you try to, it's not like giving excuses to the fans, but it's like letting them in a bit more. And one guiding principle that we've always had for the heist, and you kind of hit on it on what you got when you watched step 1, was I remember early media content, like there was a lot of like montage and Call of Duty montages, basically making me want to play the game more and making me feel that I could be like better. It's kind of what we want the heist to be. We want people to feel like not being a professional league player is accessible, but we want you guys leaving feeling of like knowing their stories, but also feeling like positive. I mean, not always positive, but like motivated to. We always leave with a message of like we're working hard and that we're not going to ever stop working no matter like what obstacles we face.
Yeah.
So if that makes sense.
And
so that's kind of our
that can be
realm.
contagious for sure. Because I think people see the videos and I can't think of a single heist episode where it didn't end on this note where you're just kind of like emotionally affected in some way. Like most of the time I felt like I like hyped up about something. Like I was like, all right, like let's go. And then there are some times where it's like you feel like grappling with some of the things that have happened or whatever. But it's
right.
It's always emotional, which is honestly, I was surprised by that. Like if it's just me talking, like I don't know, Jordan, maybe you can see if you feel the same. But for me, I was always surprised by like the emotional pull of these things, especially because it's like, well, it's the docuseries about people playing video games,
right?
But so why do I feel so like so down about this thing, or why do I feel like so inspired about that thing?
Well, I think one of the big reasons, at least for me personally, is one of the things the Heist has done very successfully over the course of the season is you've created the ability to have relationships with the players beyond just the exit interview from a win, right? Which is pretty light on overall content. I mean, they do a good job, but it's 3 minutes. So I think one of the things that's really been awesome for me and Cole is we'll watch the games from that week, and then we come in the night of Sunday night right after the end, and so we have a chance to kind of think about like, well, what happened, right? And we get to kind of hypothesize a little bit. Right. So then there, like, some of the best episodes I have in mind are where we get to have the player comms, right, where we're listening to what actually happened in the moment. So it is that really cool ability to kind of get a peek into a play, a critical play, or a pivotal moment, or like the coach conversation after a game. So I think those kinds of things for us have really tied it together in a way that allows us to kind of, that's how I think we feel connected.
Yeah, that's great. I love to hear when people feel connected to either the players or the show or the brand. Like that's our main goal, is to bring people in and to make them. This is our goal with apparel, our goal with content, it's goal with our content creators that we sign. Everything is to bring people in and make them feel like they're part of something bigger.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you guys feel that way.
If I can take a minute to just like narrow in a little bit on something that Jordan said. He was talking about the comms being included in some parts of the heist. There's actually a question from Yao Ming in chat. Yao Ming, shout out to the 7-footer for tuning in.
Nice, wow! I'm glad he's a fan.
He wanted to ask you about integrating game comms into the heist. Like, where does that idea come from? What are you hoping to achieve with it? And absolutely. How do you pull that off? Because you can't just show any moment from the comms.
Right. So, I mean, there's obviously, like, I wouldn't even say red tape, because we get a lot of really good room from our coaching staff and whatnot. But we obviously don't want to show like how much strategy or like, how our team like bounces back or anything. And what I've noticed with a lot of comms, we're far from the first to put comms in shows. Sure. Like, that is something that's been going on for a bit, especially in the league scene. But we want to make sure if we're going to show the comms, there's a purpose. Not just to show that the team talks, because we all know that they talk. But if we're showing the comms, to either, like, if it's a huge play that people have been freaking out of, let's say like some days 3-man Jack's done, 4-man Jack's done, 4-man Jack's done,
6-man Jack's
the
done.
number one play in our countdown of the top 15.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with it. You can't have it. Like, you want to show how the players react to that, right? There's no way you don't want to see like what they say when that happens. So that obviously needs to be in there. But like other times we'll have episodes that are centered around like communication and comms. There was one episode where we didn't have a single interview in there. Yeah. And like comms are really important for that kind of thing. So we just use comms stylistically. They get a little, they're pretty boring. Like, I'm gonna be completely honest. You can listen through them, and it's not like they're talking and they're like, giving anecdotes about their background. They're normally always saying the same thing, like where Sejuani is, or what they're gonna do next. So it's not like you can use too much of that.
But sometimes it's gold, and one of the
absolutely,
one of the most memorable moments I think from the entire year for both Jordan and I, because we in planning this, we kind of talked a little bit about this moment, but there's that long shot on Aframu when there's the play with Cody Sun and Tristana jumps in against that was TSM.
Yeah, that was TSM third place match.
Yeah,
game 5
match, and ends up the team fight turns around and we end up losing. There's just a really, really long shot on Aframu, and you're hearing the comms, and that was one of the most like poignant moments I think of the whole thing. Like, I never expected to really get that look at what it feels like, you know, in that moment for somebody. So the question, and Jordan wanted to ask this for sure. How did you like pull that off? Because did someone just happen to have a camera on Afromu?
Yeah, it was a long shot on Afro. It was incredible.
How many cameras you guys got? You know,
exactly. So, you know, this is always why I'm like, Riot, like, record the front-facing cameras so maybe we can use that in a higher quality. Like, it's tough. Like, but our staff can atone to this. So, we have like even the chat's talking about it right now. Ricky's in the chat, and Mark's in the chat. Mark 100% shot that. During the season, we started doing a large focus on getting their actual voices. And so for that shot, before the shot actually starts, you can see him pointing up at the big screen and saying into the microphone, like, you know, 3640, just so like we can sync it. Yeah. And then they're pointing at it, and then you just hold for a long time. Like, the thing is, you don't even hear what they're saying. You have no idea. Right. But we know we want to put some sort of raw emotion in there. So before, like, let's say if we had a Someday episode, the episode where Someday, like, the arc was basically Someday becomes like a leader and starts talking and starts calling. We knew that was where the team was going. And I'll be like, Mark, like, you got strong arms. You're gonna shoot. You're gonna stand on Someday the entire time and just hold. And then sometimes nothing comes of it, but other times you get the gold, like what you saw, because when it's all like hyped and it's like a best of 5 and it's back and forth, and then all music cuts out. And what is really good about this, so I can't take like much of the credit, is that that play was spammed everywhere. You know, that play was spammed on Reddit. That play was spammed on like Twitter. It was everywhere. Everyone knew why we lost, or knew the moment we lost. And so with that play already burned in everyone's mind, when we make the heist, we don't even need to show the play. We held on Afro. I don't think the play was on screen when it was doing it, right? No. And you just hear the comms. So that's a lot of like knowing outside forces, and a lot of just the GOAT Mark holding on that shot, because I wasn't even in Oakland. And I didn't tell him like, hey, hold that shot. He was just, he knew he wanted what he wanted, and it panned out.
Shout out, Mark.
So one other thing I want to point out on that, not only is it's really cool. So, and I think this is another, what's the word? This is something that the Heist has done that I wasn't necessarily expecting, but in a way, it kind of shapes the narrative for how fans understand the players, not just in like, we know that, you know, we know a little bit more about them and what they like and their personality. But I think that was a really important moment, because it allowed us to see, I think there's a lot of speculation about that, right? Like, well, who called the shot? Or, well, you know, did somebody say like, go for it? And then when you listen to the comms, there's like a moment of realization where you're like, oh no, he just decided to jump. And I'm not throwing shade or anything. It's just, it kind of dispels the illusion a little bit. And so I think that's a really powerful tool, right? Where you can do that. And of course, you never want to do that in a way that is, you know, damaging to a player or anything like that. So I fully understand where you're talking about the importance of making sure you don't put the wrong stuff out there. But I think in that case, it helped me as a fan to say, so that was just a decision Cody made, and he couldn't have known when it happened, but that was the outcome of that. And it wasn't that Afro was making a suspect call, or that, you know, or somebody was, you know, urging him on. Like, that was just a decision he made. So I think that's another thing that I got out of it. Not only was it masterfully done, it was actually super informative from a fan standpoint to say, it kind of shaped the way I thought about the players on the team a little bit more, from like a team cohesion and strategy perspective. I think that's a benefit I was not expecting when I started watching the Heist.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And the thing that I love the most about it is, you know, that's not like solicited questions. That's not me sitting someone down. It's like they're thinking of their public image and saying like, you know, what do you think of this player? What do you think? This is like the raw, it was Afro, like, and the team kind of being a little bit shocked that he jumped in, but the team instantly was like, okay, we're playing this fight now. And so Cody drops in the first like second, but they're still calling the fight. They're still like, we know he's dead, but we're still calling the fight. I think even Cody might even called like the fight at that point too, because he could see objectively as not controlling the character. But you know, you have the whole hold of Afro saying like, oh, you know, it's okay, guys. And then it's going, It's like, can they end? And then you're like, no, they can't. And they're like, oh no, they can't end. And he's like, oh no, it's okay. And so like, because at that point, like so you get that raw, like that's Afro move.
Yeah.
You in interviews he can say he's calm and he built his team up and he's a support. Like he can say that all he wants, but until you see it in a non-solicited moment, then that's when you really grasp like who he is as a person.
100%. Like there's not a toxic bone in that guy's body.
Right. Oh my gosh, that guy is he's one of the best players I've ever worked with.
Yeah. So, and this kind of, obviously leads into a topic that's been a sticking point for fans about 100 Thieves is the perception of players, the perception of the team, how much information is given about them. And so, I recognize this may be like a little bit of a prickly topic or whatever, but, how much do you guys think about, communications as you put out the heist, and how do you make those decisions of like, what sort of information are we going to put out there and what information are we going to hold back?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when it comes to, we both know like how last year like turned out. We like what I love about 100 Thieves and why I can't go to Twitter and always say this because it'll get redundant, but we care about these players like more than anything. I never seen like the only org that I've ever worked with that rivals is Liquid, and we know Liquid's notoriously like just so caring for their players. So having Matt, John and Jackson and the rest of our like coaching staff and everyone care about our players is something that I've never seen to like this level. So when it comes to the heist, the whole point of the heist is Matt knows what having a brand means and knows that these players, after they're done being players, need something that'll help them like carry on themselves as entertainers, carry on themselves as like a figure, whether it's like, they go to casting or they go into like some sports science, like anything after, when they're done playing, they need something. And so it's also part of the heist is that you can get to know these players and we can build their brands and we can do that for them while they're practicing hard. And so when it comes to like communication is we're very transparent with our players. We talk with them. Even in the interview questions, we say like, if you don't want to answer something, you don't need to answer it. Or if you do, like, let's share your point of view. Because that could be like also a point where they can reflect on things in that interview chair where they can say anything they want, but just me and them and maybe like a second camera. But what we don't like, we know that these players are going to have disagreements, and we know these players are going to, I wouldn't even say they're just in an environment that it's like, they're all very passionate about what they want. So they're all going to try to win, and they're going to be arguments. There's going to be, some setbacks, and we're not a drama show. We're not going to hold that against them. We're not going to pull anything out of context. And so when it comes to communication, like we want to tell their stories. We want to tell what they're working for, and we want to explain how the weeks happen. So we're not in the business of throwing people under the bus. So 100 Thieves looks good, or so the team has a reason why they're not doing well. We're just going to tell the story. We're going to tell, because we hope all our players always want to get better, and we're going to help them do that. And that's our main goals. The show comes alongside it, but it's never going to be something. We're not going to do something for like clicks. We're not going to show an argument so that like ultimately, if we think it helps their brands and it tells our story, like we're okay showing negatives. We've seen a lot of negatives in the heist. We've seen losses. We've seen players not talking. We've shown a lot of negatives.
Tough conversations on that patio.
Right, exactly. And so we're not hiding anything. We're just making sure that we're balancing our players are able to do well, perform, and feel comfortable with the content that everyone expects.
Yeah.
It's just like a balance.
Yeah. Do you feel like maybe that's maybe a lesson that you carried with you after doing the breaking point? One of Jordan and I were watching that conversation between Dardoch and Steve that happens, and it's just like very interesting to see that much interaction. That was a good one. Yeah. That kind of thing where it doesn't seem like that's the conversation that would appear in the heist.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that like, oh, you guys are like covering that up or hiding it, but it just doesn't seem like the way that the org would do it.
And I think for me, it just felt like there was no winner in that conversation. Like, yes, as fans, we saw more, but I don't feel like the org was better. I don't feel like either of those two individuals were better. And it's not, it's not only about making people look as good as they can. It just felt like that, to me, that might have been a conversation that I would have questioned, is like, what do we stand to gain, or how is this going to be better because of including this?
Yeah. Oh, Breaking Point was something. So coming into One Up Studios, I remember talking with Damien, and my first task was to kind of make Breaking Point with him. Oh my gosh, I know I had hiccups. Was to make break.
That's why you get some water in one of these beautiful 100 Talk mugs.
Those are nice mugs. We love them.
Good.
But so I had stepped away from the league scene for a bit when I came into Breaking Point, so I didn't really know who these players were. It wasn't the Liquid I remember. It didn't have like Quas top lane, it didn't have Boy. Like it was a brand new team. And so going to Breaking Point, I didn't really know the league scene. I didn't really know what people were doing in it. I had switched to CS:GO. But I came in and then I watched all that footage as objectively as possible. Because I didn't know what Loco was doing. I didn't know Dardoch. And so I came in and I remember having one of those big like pieces of paper that you hang on like walls. And Damien and I just like wrote out the story of what we saw. And then we shaped it how we could. We knew this is going to be a more jarring piece because of who young Dardoch was. And then like his interactions with the team were, and it's something that people didn't take away from Breaking Point as much as I wanted them to, and which goes ultimately on Damien and I, or just me in general, is that Dardoch was in a sense kind of like, I wouldn't even say anti-hero. I would say he's a bit of a protagonist, and he's just going about it the wrong way. Like what Dardoch wanted was kind of correct. He wanted everyone to be the best they could, but because unfortunately he was a kid, he was a person of circumstance, he was kind of a jerk, to put it lightly.
As we all are, at that
you're right. He wanted what everyone says that players should want, and that's to be the best no matter what. He just had choice words in going about it. But putting that out, like I'm not gonna lie, like I didn't know what everyone's response was, because watching it, and maybe it's with footage we put in or we didn't put in, like I felt for Dardoch. Like I wanted Dardoch to be successful, and then it came out, and I just remember my first project with One Up Studios just completely like hurt this guy's career. I mean, I wouldn't say like he's such a good player that like he got signed to teams instantly because he's that good, but I when you go in the comments of Reddit and stuff, you just always saw like Dardoch talk to her, Dardoch, all these things. And like, I knew that's something I didn't want to like stick. And so I worked with Dardoch actually a bit, because then we did a follow-up piece for preseason for Liquid. And then he went to CLG. He went somewhere and then CLG, maybe Immortals and then CLG.
Yeah. Okay.
Or flipped. But I remember he came back to Liquid. And so I got like towards the end, I got a chance again. I was like, hey, Dardoch, like, I know you're going to, I think it was Echo Fox, and like that's where you want that to be your home, and you want to have your reputation, because that kid tries, and he like learned a lot from growing up in a public space. And I was like, okay, well, let's give you like one more, like let's give you another platform to tell your story. And so we did like a good goodbye Dardoch piece. And again, it's not going to get anywhere near the views that Breaking Point got. I mean, and that's just unfortunate, but I think he's mended his thing a bit. And I think people can see him as like the really good player he is. And now he just needs to land like that really good team to show that he will get what he wants.
So that ended up being, go ahead, Jordan, please.
If you had a follow-up question, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it sounded like that ended up being a, kind of a learning experience for you guys to like, understand like, okay, so the way I tell this story is going to have this impact. So fast forward to the Heist, like, when there were a couple times during 2018 where stuff was going on with like Meteos, for example, where the Heist was, as I understand it, it was made but not released, and even a couple versions were made and not released. So what was that like for you? Like, how did you feel about that? And like
man,
making two versions of the same thing.
Absolutely. And like, I can gladly speak on that. Because I
was gonna say, if that's something you can talk about.
Well, sure. Matt has already spoken about it, like most of it. Is that, I mean, we knew there was unrest in the team going into summer. Like, but obviously everyone's going to try to fix it. Everyone wants to do their best, but sometimes, and unfortunately, what you got at 100 Thieves early on is just a lot of veterans, in like the too many cooks in the kitchen. You can't, unfortunately, and so you have like Afro, Someday Ryu, and like basically everybody but Cody are seen as like hardcore like veterans in the space. Like these players have been playing for 5+ years. The only person that wasn't in the MLG Dallas 2013 episode was Cody.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
all these guys have been playing for 5+ years, and so they have a way they want to play the game. And so we kind of knew, and there's like little things sprinkled in where like a team change might be coming. But it was, it's just something that the whole team kind of realizes as they work together, is that maybe my talents are best in other avenues. So when it all happens and like the Heist episode is ready, we want to make sure that we're protecting players. We want to make an episode that's because no matter when we're saying goodbye to a player, like they've done so much for us. Will did so much for us. Will got us to the spring finals in our first split, and that'll always be us in the spring finals of the first split. We released something that's like unfair and out of context, because context matters, and we can't show the 6 months of context that the inside has, to show that like we understand that, again, too many cooks in the kitchen. Like to get that feel out there, it would just take so much footage. And so we ultimately wanted to say like thank you to Will, because honestly, Will, he like meant the world to Nadeshot. Like you should say Nate and Will were like because Will was kind of the only person that like was easy to converse with Nadeshot.
Yeah, right.
And so ultimately, we just saying that we care about the players is just 100% truthful, and saying that Matt cares about the players 100% truthful. And the best we could do is send them off and hope and wish them the best with everything that they want.
Yeah.
For me, I kind of think about if someone were to record some of my hardest days at work and release that footage on the internet, that would be pretty tough, right? Like, I think people lose sight of that for these players, the conversations they're having with coaches and with owners. I mean, that's just a work conversation, right? And and so in a lot of ways, I don't think it's really even fair. And I know people want to know that stuff, but like put yourself in those shoes. That would be a real bummer to have that just, like every word you say at work, especially when it's emotional, and and if you're having disagreements with people, like that's a lot.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think go ahead, Cole.
I was just gonna say, so it seems like when those situations happened, the Heist was one of the only like quote official sources of information about it. So it seemed like people who wanted to know what was going on were just waiting to like, all right, what are they gonna say on the Heist? So and I'm not asking specifically about that, but just in general, it seems like these team docs that you see seem to mean so much to the fans, not only as a a source of information, but just for everything that comes along with it. So how and something that I guess it's because I'm coming from a place where I've only been in this scene, if you want to call it that, for like a year now. I don't fully understand, like, what's your take on how those things like docuseries for teams became so important, it's so crucial? Why do you think they have like the crazy impact on the fans that they obviously do?
Oh man, gosh, you got to start back from like Game Cribs. Like TSM did a show called Game Cribs, and it's just what people, I guess, I wouldn't even say take for granted. It's not so much taking for granted. It's just not realizing is that we have such a different connection with the people that play these games versus than we would with a traditional sport. I don't have the BTS of like Kobe missed his last three, like, in his like final game. But for some reason, because growing esports has been a whole community effort, like that how close we feel with everybody is just so much different than we would with any other celebrity. And like we need to give people what they want to see, and doc series have been running a bit dry. I'm not gonna say that every single team's doc series is getting the 400,000 plus that TSM is getting.
Yeah.
But every team wants to try. if that's a proven concept, every team wants to try. And so when we came in, we knew we wanted to do too, but we were going to add our own spin on it because we didn't want to just be another cut and dry doc series. But going along with what we want to show of our players is that we knew we wanted to do it. We wanted to tell their stories. We wanted to give them a platform to say their piece. With it being like it is an official form of communication coming on our YouTube. It goes through Matt. It goes through as many people as we can get involved in each episode with however everyone's doing things. But it stays true to what our story is. And we had the official announce of Will parting. It was a bit early. We did have a lot planned for like a heist coming out after Will's departure. Even spoke with Will before his departure. He didn't seem terribly interested in doing an interview again, which again, I completely understand. There's emotions, there's everything. There's, sure. He wants to like think of his future. Like I completely understand that, like 100%. But yeah, I mean, we didn't want people to have to really like pick sides. We want the best for Will. And I keep saying that. And we understood that people are going to be watching this, looking for those details, and like us just sending them off is what we wanted to do. Yeah. And we knew that the environment was now going to be better for the rest of our players. We had an obligation to them to make sure that they feel like they have the best chance going forward. Yeah. And everyone has like it's a whole collaborative team effort. It's never one person pulling the strings.
Yeah.
Well,
and so sorry, I kind of drifted off the thing of communication. Is that Matt has expressed that we're going to be more transparent, especially when it comes to like instant posts, just for people to know right away, because the heist is always going to take time, and we can always communicate via official statements on our Twitter, Reddit, everything.
Yeah, like Jackson, for instance, when the players started tweeting that I'm still under contract with 100 Thieves.
Exactly.
I've been allowed to explore.
Yeah.
And Jackson made that, tweet ahead of it, explaining like, what was going on. I thought like that alleviated any sense of,
sure,
what do they do?
Like, somebody's looking for
right. Did they already get rid of him? Well,
right. But Matt had mentioned that in COD, it's just completely different when rosters change. And he was operating under that. And we, had a lot of discussions of what we should and shouldn't say, but we went with what he knew from COD. And then going forward, we all collaboratively will have better communication. And we all from 100 Thieves know that without a doubt, that we will speak to the fans and speak to everybody in different forms in media, that they always know to the best of our abilities, like what's going on.
Yeah, great.
If there's anybody still questioning it, I mean, just think about it. Would have been so easy for you all to put out selective clips that showed a player in a negative light.
Mm-hmm.
If your goal was to kind of make this seem like their fault, right? Like a player who's not going to continue with the team, you could have very easily cherry picked some footage and said, well, here's why they're leaving, right? So not doing that, I think, is a huge sign of good faith. And ultimately, I'd say it ended up being some bad press for the team and the org. So it was, in my mind, it's a pretty clear, it's a signal that you guys are about the players.
Yeah, and we definitely don't want to go into like some sort of like he said, she said. And we know the brand took a bit of a hit when the whole Medios thing came out, because there's a lot of emotion. There was a lot of instantly taking to social media. And it's just, you're right. Well, this is our first like big public where we wanted to talk to fans, but then we just came down to the core of it. It was like, we care about these players. They do so much for us, and we'll we know how to do things better going forward. And we're not very worried about that.
Yeah. All right.
Neither are we.
Yeah, neither are we really. But looking forward to 2019 now. So you've got new roster. And
yes.
how do you think that because you're going to be in there capturing the interactions with the players.
Right.
One of the things that, was a common trope trotted out about the roster last year is like, no one's saying anything. There's no energy. There's no this or that.
Yeah.
Going, from my perspective, it seems like that may change a little bit for this year. What kind of differences, changes are you expecting for 2019? How is the new roster going to affect what you do?
Oh man. Oh, I want to address something real fast because it's about that question. Is that we show the heist, we show like Matt coming in like, yeah, we won, and then the players just all being very quiet. Everyone's like, oh, cringe. That's the most cringe thing in the world. I'm like honestly, being there didn't feel like cringe at all. I mean, honestly, if anything, it was just funny towards Matt. Yeah. Because I mean, all the players are very like solidified and very conscious of each other. They joke and they talk like they're not just quiet. They're just not that over the top like hype, because honestly in a lot of league it's hard to find that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But everyone's like thought it was like super awkward and everything, and like Matt being like always like checking back on himself. He just talks so fast, he had 2 Koreans on the team.
It did feel like that though, man. It felt like that.
But like no, we were all just very happy. If anything, we were just like laughing at the clip, so we're like laughing at it. But those players, you talk to them in a normal context, like it's great. Yeah. But then we got to switch gears now. They have Bang, Afro, Huhi, Someday, and Anda. I have no problem. The quietest one will probably be Anda. I don't really know where Bang falls on it, but from seeing where he's tweeting,
his Twitter game is crazy, man.
This guy is ready to attack NA.
Yeah,
he's gonna fit in perfectly. So Afro can joke. I mean, Afro and Huhi together in a room, we already did for their announcement video.
Dude, beautiful.
Banter. Wonderful banter. You throw in Bang into the mix, it's going to be great. And then Someday, he is a very quiet and reserved too, but he'll speak. So I'm looking forward to this immensely.
Yeah.
I think the dynamic like Ryu was a very supportive but very quiet. And then like him and Someday, it wasn't very clicky, but it was very like he could confide in Someday and they kind of bounce off each other. I think it's going to be a perfect mix of. It's going to be a lot more hype. It's not going to be like Call of Duty levels of hype. And trust me, you cannot wait. If you're looking for that hype, COD is going to be. The players we have for COD is insane. This group of guys, it's crazy. So you'll get that with COD. Do not worry, and a bit more with League.
Yeah, well, it just feels like I mean, because you have because Ryu's staying on as a coach, so you have 4 like Korean speakers that are going to be there. I feel like Koreans will be brought out of their shells a little bit. Plus, Huni is like a transition. He's like a bridge between them and everybody else.
Just to clear up a little bit, because did you say Huni?
I thought I said Huni. Yeah.
Completely.
But he just seems like he'll bridge that, for everybody else, which is really, really great. I think it's going to be nice for the chemistry of the team. So
agreed.
Okay, so you want to talk Red Bull really quick? Because I said we'd bookmark that.
Sure, I'd love to. That Red Bull is so much fun.
If you guys haven't seen, so if people who are watching, if you haven't seen the video that they did to announce the Red Bull sponsorship, holy cow, man. Just talk us through that. Go. If you're listening on the pod, like pause it and go watch this really quick. But take us through the setup to it, what the planning was like.
Sure, absolutely.
What the reaction has been that you've seen.
Oh, we can tell the story of that was not even the original video we were going to make.
Really?
We could tell these. We could say these things. We could.
Dude, yeah. Give the scoop.
It's gonna be great. Yeah. So the original video we were gonna make was we were gonna try to recreate as best as possible Nate Shot's original Red Bull video. So he was sitting. It's the first clip of the actual Red Bull video now. It's him sitting next to the Red Bull car with the ramp at the background. Mm-hmm. So we were basically gonna redo that, but in a more cinematic, like behind the scenes way, where you see him sit down, you see all the lights and stuff. Showing that we are recreating this Red Bull shot, and it was going to be him in the seat saying his lines, but him coaching Valkyrie, him coaching Aframu to say the same lines as well, just to bring it all back.
Yeah.
But then they didn't have, not so much that they didn't have the car, we just couldn't get the car fast enough. There was just a lot of semantics with all of that. And then we're like, okay, I guess people would have had to have seen that original video. And it's like, well, that's a lot of burden and knowledge that we can't exactly, we're not going to show the video before and then show it. Mm-hmm. So it was just like a lot of an idea that unfortunately we couldn't do, and we wanted to, and I'm kind of glad we didn't, because that kind of would have been a little bit hard. It would have actually been a little bit hard. So then the second video was to do the boot camp and to show eyes around the boot camp, but they tied in like really perfect, like really, really, really well. We knew this was a homecoming of sort. And so we wanted to see like what Red Bull videos are out there of Matt that we could show that he's coming home. because like you walk around that Red Bull office, like it's completely different than when it was when Matt was there. But you see pictures of Matt like in a lot of places. You see him holding his X Games gold medal. He's like really like respected there. I mean, Matt's respected in a lot of places, but Red Bull especially, we're really excited for him to come back. So we are in the Red Bull facility. And we saw when it was like taking it apart before they were building it. And so we actually even shot them building it and putting it back together. That never made the video. But we just knew that we wanted people to know that Nadeshot's being welcomed back. And we wanted to give them that, like, look how far Nadeshot has gone. And not so much as Nadeshot has gone, is that how far, like, 100 Thieves has come as well. It's just all, like, that emotion you feel at the end is just like, oh, shit, what's next? And so we did a lot of match frames, which is something that we took from a lot of media these days are doing, like really like emotional stuff. Like there's a show called This Is Us, and I can talk about that show for
My wife is a fan of This Is Us.
Oh my gosh, tell her like I dissect that.
That's
every
what
week.
She watches while I play League. So
perfect. That show is so good. But we knew that we wanted just people have been following and supporting for a long time. We're going to make them feel emotional and feel proud of what we've done. And so we matched frames. We showed Matt, like, just thinking of where he's been. And even Matt, like, thinking of all this was like, love the concept because he got to reflect on where he's been. And it's been 6 years since he was in that facility.
He looks like a little baby in those videos.
Oh, no, absolutely. Exactly. I think what he wanted to show most was like, he was like, all right, we're going to just show him the before and after. You know, Matt wanted to put publicly that he doesn't look that way anymore.
I think the scene where he's standing watching the players play, that was one of I think that was my favorite scene. And it for me, it kind of, again, going back to this theme, it further developed the idea of Matt and this organization investing in other players. Like, it was so cool to just see him watching, right? And just imagine him sitting in that chair 6 years ago playing that same thing, and look where it's come. Like, it's such a cool full circle. So
no, absolutely. That shot was like obviously that was the shot. Like, the whole video was centered around that shot.
Yeah,
like that was the only shot that really had to work to sell the point, and it almost didn't. Like, so what we did there was that when it comes over, obviously Matt didn't stand up, and while we were like going, he like ran around and the lights changed. We almost had to do it like through like After Effects, some sort of like digital wipe, and then that never looks as good because we wanted to cut when the camera goes full black. You can cut to something else, and if it was on smooth motion and it ends here and the new shot starts here, like it just looks seamless. But we couldn't get anything that was full black besides like the bottom of the table, and we'd have to go like some sort of like weird around, and we're like, oh no, this is not working. I'm like, okay, what can we do? Like, we can always do this in post, but we don't want to. It wants to be like actual something black. And so what we did was we got a mouse pad. And Mark actually did that. Mark saw like a mouse pad out of the corner. It's like a hard mouse pad, luckily, and we put it against the Red Bull fridge. We're like, okay, we're shooting into this. And so the first shot goes into it, and then it goes away. But like the second one was like the most choreographed shot where it needs to go from the blackness of the mouse pad, but not show that it's a black mouse pad against the Red Bull thing, to opening the door, the can coming out, and then revealing everything. And it was just like, lucky that mouse pad was there.
Mark is saving the day.
Thank
left
you,
and right,
Razor.
man.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I want a BTS, man. I would watch that series.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're just like freaking out. We're like, everything else planned. Exactly.
Yeah.
But no, it's like what we kind of think of like our whole jobs, especially in the editing process, is like we're like problem solvers. If we have an issue with like a shot, we just find a creative way to solve it. So that mouse pad was luckily came in clutch. Yeah. But again, back to that whole reveal, is that's not just a symbolic of like Matt growing. Like, that's what he is for the company. Like, he's wearing the apparel, and so you can like, he's like representing the brand. We're adding in leaks there, but he watches all the COD guys, he watches all our league guys, he watches all our streamers. Like, it's just
he's the Godfather.
Exactly. The first video you're watching and we're cutting back to is his personal vlog building his brand, and now he's building a brand for esports, and just a brand to be a lifestyle brand, and so we want to show that as well.
Speaking of, we had a question from Twitch chat. Etor3 wants to know. He says, without any leaks of any sort, what can you say about the future of content creation and creators like Valkyrie, Noah, etc.?
Yeah, so I mean that's something we signed some really good content creators with Valk, Noah, Nate even streaming on himself. You got Nick. Like content creators are going to be a really big part. We just need to find out how to not find out how to utilize them. It's just utilize them in 2019. We started a little bit more with Valk, but ended up releasing the video on her channel. Was her time at TwitchCon. But like these content creators are just going to be so pivotal moving forward, is that they're spreading a lot of messages like directly to you guys. So yeah, without any leaks of sort, is that they're going to be a big part of 2019. Absolutely. And you're going to see a lot more about them behind the screen and who they are when they're not putting on a show, because that's ultimately what they're doing when they hit live. They're performing, and sometimes it's very genuine performance, but it's still a performance. And so we get to we will show their background, show why they're doing what they're doing. That's something that we're wholeheartedly planning on doing for 2019 for most of our content creators.
Yeah,
I hope that helped.
Yeah, it seems like it is going to be an insane year for you guys.
Oh,
it's not even been a year, man. Can you believe that?
Yeah, 11 months. 11 months. It's crazy. It's crazy. And you say like, oh yeah, our company was, got investors like Drake in 11 months. You're like, oh, that's normal. That obviously, but no,
you got that Drake and Red Bull money.
Crazy. Yeah. No, I mean the sponsors that we're bringing in too, like I just have how much weight to them, like Rocket Mortgage and Red Bull and Razer. Like they're just all like names that just have like weight,
household names. Yeah,
right, exactly. And I'm so glad that they're like joining us on our journey through all of this.
Yeah, I think you guys do a good job of featuring them, like because you do the direct, hey, here's like our sponsor video thing, but also just like the Heist in particular does such a good job of working in that material, and you kind of get a sense for like who's all behind the brand, and not not a heavy-handed way. So
I don't know how I missed StockX. Like what? Like obviously, I mean, hello.
Yeah, right. Like obviously, looking back there, you've got some StockX product.
You see that iron? That iron is
yeah. Oh yeah, that's Supreme Iron.
Supreme Iron. I was gonna say.
Supreme Iron. Yeah. Nice.
But crazy 11 months.
Yeah, and I anticipate the next 11 are going to be just like a whole different level.
No idea. Like the things that are just lining up, and the way that we plan for content to be in apparel, and it's just.
So I think that's probably a good note. Should we start it? Kind of wrap it up, Cole?
Yeah, and
oh my gosh, I didn't even realize it's been so long.
Yeah, no, this has been flying by. It's been awesome.
Well, I was thinking a good question to kind of leave it on would be just in general, no specifics, but what are you most excited about for year 2, knowing how amazing year 1 has been?
Honestly, I've been racking my brain around this the entire year 1, is that I just want people to feel closer to 100 Thieves. I want people to, walk out of their houses and represent the brand, whether it's in our apparel or in our mindset or in our like connecting to the content. I want them to rush home like the way I did to watch like shows. I know it's a completely different form of media. They can watch it at any time, but it's just that feeling of, oh, a new video's out. Oh, I care about the players. I want to see them. Or like, and it's something that's so like tricky with the apparel, is that why it's like limited drop and everyone's like, no, we want them available at all times. And it's just like, there's only so many ways to make you feel like this means something, like you have the jersey on, you have all this stuff in the background. Like you're proud of that. Like it feels great. And then you see someone else with it and you just feel like there's like that connection.
Yeah.
Like if you're wearing something 100 Thieves, it means you care like a lot. And, they're figuring that on the end on different amounts of quantity and whatnot. But, that's our job with content next year, is how do we make you guys feel like you're part of it? And how do we bring you guys in? And how do we show that this is for you? So that's what we're excited about 2019, is that our entire team, who has been working nonstop, is just super thrilled to bring you guys along with us. And I know that's what we did year 1, but year 2 is going to be just so much more inclusive. It's gonna be wonderful.
Yeah, well, we're all in. I have to. That was a beautiful thing to end on, but I have to just slam 2 quick things in.
Go for it. Go for it.
2 quick things. One, there was a question: Are we going to see a World's Heist episode?
Okay. You will you see a world's Heist? Huh. I mean, you gotta imagine that's gonna be asked. I mean, there's obviously.
Can neither confirm nor deny the existence of a world's Heist.
I mean, here's the thing: we say we confirm a video, and it's like, we gotta make it. Like, you know, yeah. So there's always been a plan. Just plans have changed, and with everything that's coming up, you gotta imagine that, you know, COD December 7th is like our big tournament. We got our apparel drop. We got just so many things lined up. Like Red Bull was just honestly, Red Bull was the start. Like, if you think that was like the big like announcement that's what we've been working on, that is going to kick things off for a crazy December. And I don't know when the wheels will stop running, you know, or slow down one bit going into next year. And that's why we're super excited. You know, we have a lot of stuff planned and backed up, and just constantly every day it's like a whole new checklist of things that we need to get done because there will be no other time to do it. Yeah. So when it comes to World Heist, we are hoping for some sort of year-end video. That has always been the plan, whether it be specifically around Worlds or just kind of like a big general, like, you know, year one's done. It's going to be very exciting for us, and we want to share that along with you, as well as tease some things for year two. So without getting into specifics, I'm sure there will be some Worlds footage there. I would have the whole thing. Yeah.
Maybe at the kickoff to the next season's heists, we could get a little retrospective. I imagine there's plenty of sound bites to choose from of people saying things that will be fun to put to the test with the new roster as well.
Oh, sure, absolutely. The storylines going into number 2 is just going to be insane. Like, I mean, I know a lot right now we're focusing on. I don't think this is a leak. It's not a leak. He said it. It's got to be.
Listen up, everybody.
No. I mean, I always wanted to. I want to be like. I was like, come here, I'm gonna give away everything. It's just a COD series, you know. Obviously, there's going to be a COD series. There's no way there's not.
Yeah, I think that's a safe assumption.
Yeah, but just the way from what I'm gonna just confirm something that people like. What I love now.
You previously leaked the name. It's the COD Job, right?
Oh yeah. The COD Job's coming out. Yeah, exactly. It's the COD Job. It's like a giant fish is our logo. It's gonna be great. It's not a big leak, but it's like, it's crazy how different things are than when I was on like 1UP, and now I'm kind of, I wouldn't say I'm like a big figure, because, you know, that introduction, I'm just like, that's not me. Like, who are they talking about? But like, I posted a picture on Twitter and Instagram. I was like, oh, I should build my brand a bit more. Like, oh, look at this cool shot we set up. And I tweet it, and then it's like on the subreddit, it's like, what is this? And you're like, oh my gosh.
That's what happens when you post cryptic pictures or cryptic strings of numbers to Twitter. That's God. You're just fueling some speculation. That's all.
Yeah. We were just doing interviews for the COD series in a very beautiful place. Sorry to like tear it down. I mean, you'll love the COD interviews. They were phenomenal, and we can't wait to bring that to you guys.
So are the numbers the name of the series then? Is the series going to be called 775413 or whatever?
See, the crazy thing about like the numbers, and I honestly, I'm glad that I was like able to come on this and like talk about the numbers, because it is something that I'm like super excited.
That you're muted.
Sorry. But I only could say this once, and like once only, guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I cannot repeat this, and I do actually probably should go soon, but this is like one time.
Yeah. We'll wrap. Oh, he did it.
No, I got it. I get it. Yeah.
Oh, no.
I can't believe it. Yeah.
Lucasfilms. You know, Vanessa Hutchins, and just like the crazy names like Audi, and you're just like, oh my God.
Oh, this is pretty.
So I hope you guys are excited for that, because it's going to be insane.
I've pre-purchased the pass.
Clip it, aggregate it, spread the word, everybody. This needs to go to the top of the subreddit.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Good. Well, thank you for sharing those highly protected secrets.
I'm glad that we can actually finally discuss that
to the world. So,
yeah, absolutely.
But in seriousness, Gabe, this has been amazing. Thank you for coming here to talk to us about this. Like, the conversation has just been really enlightening for us, and we're so excited just to like hear what's behind some of our favorite content on the
Well,
internet.
thank you. I mean, again, thank you for having us. Like, we're like not some crazy unreachable force, especially our content team. Our content team is some of the most personal. Like, you tweet, Mark, you tweet, Logan, you tweet, Ricky, and we're all responding. Like, we're responding like the craziest thing. And like these guys like work their heart out, but we're not some like unreachable goal where people are like, oh, goals to be videos like them or the goats. Like, we're just some people who love esports and we want you to be involved. And we're like always open to talk. So we appreciate like things that you guys are doing with like 100 Talk or fan accounts that are like 100 Thieves news updates. Like, that means a lot to us because it means people care. Yeah, so
totally. Yeah.
Like, again, like anytime, like we're just welcome to bring you guys along with us.
Well, I mean, just know that we wouldn't exist if you weren't making the heist. So there's no thanks for that.
You guys will be existing for a long time because we were talking about it yesterday. And I have no idea where. But yeah, no, absolutely. Like, we just love every part of this.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, thank you again so much, and thanks to everybody who watched with us today. We hope to be doing cool content during the off season for LCS, and then we're interested also to be watching on the sidelines what's going on with the COD job and all that stuff. So everybody will be watching along with us. So.
oh my gosh. Are you okay? We're still good. Okay, so I could actually tell a name, and Ricky's gonna love this because I see him in chat. I want to give you guys what Ricky's name was.
Please.
So if you're not familiar with the COD scene, there's one series that's gonna be our big like rival, right? And we're like, okay, how do we do Vision better? Because that's what Optic does. We want to make sure that we still get the same like level of personability of our players and show them to the COD scene. And so if Vision is Optic's show, then we're just gonna do Night Vision. Come on, guys.
Oh,
Night Vision.
Nice. It's improved.
I think it was like Octane or something. He was like, all right, we call it that. We're not. We're done. We're done. We're not even going to Vegas.
Yeah. Infrared.
Oh.
There you go. It's on brand, man.
You heard it first. Yeah.
All right, we are losing it. We're off the rails here. Well, so again, everybody, thank you for watching, for the subscriptions that are coming through, which is just unbelievable, mind-blowing to see. So thank you for that. Gabe, do you want to shout out your social media really quick so everybody can click that big follow
if you want
button?
to. Yeah, absolutely. If you ever want to see a retweet of 100 Thieves stuff, go to
Nice.
It's app Gabe J Ruiz, GABEJRUIZ. And I'll see you guys there where I tweet controversial things like Charizard's a dragon.
I voted in that.
What'd you say?
I voted in the affirmative. Charizard is a dragon.
Oh my god, Charizard's obviously a dragon.
Yeah.
So clearly a dragon.
It looks like a dragon and breathes like a dragon is a dragon. Come on.
When I voted, I think it's at 90% dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
right.
good.
Exactly. I'm with smart crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So everybody stick around on stream afterwards for Charizard Talk Hour and
exactly.
Hosted by Gabe.
By Gabe.
It's gonna be an hour-long rant of why everyone else is wrong.
Hey man, those subscription numbers are gonna shoot up.
Oh my gosh, I know. But this is I'm gonna end up on a BuzzFeed article. Like, this guy thinks Charizard's a dragon.
You'll never believe who thinks Charizard's a dragon.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think again, Gabe, thank you. Thanks everyone. Yeah, we'll end it here and we'll see you guys on the next stream. Thank you. Have a good one.